the stags, they actually reacted to a TB test back at the end of January. Most likely just avian TB, so we're retesting them now. That's why they've got a shave mark down here, and we've given them what we call a comparative test, 2 jabs in the neck here, and we're going to look at them tomorrow, and as long as the avian injection site is bigger than the tuberculin one, they'll call that clear. It's actually avian TB, which is what it's been every year for a long, long time. So we always get a few non-specific reactions. These are mixed age stags. They're starting to grow their velvet now. See this character here? That's quite tender on the top of there. A week ago, he had a coronet on top of his head. The new growth started to grow underneath it, and I've got him here.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah. All prepared. The new growth started to grow, and as it does that, then this is the cap, what is left from last year's velvet, and that falls off. The new growth grows, and so he will grow velvet. In about 55 days' time, it'll be up about here. Fastest growing natural product in the world is velvet, and at that stage he'll be ready for us to cut him off in the crush and harvest that velvet, maybe 5-6 kilos, something like that on average.
We'll see.
So these are all just mixed age stags, and as you can see, they're pretty quiet. I bring them into the shed, I walk through them, I push them everywhere. It's the hardest part of farming deer, is actually pushing animals all the time. It's hard work by the end of the day. Eh? Yeah, he does. He does that every time he comes in. Just lies down. He's a nuisance, because then the others try to stand on him and they get uncomfortable. Yeah. 2 of them down now. Yeah.
Eat me for Clay.
Okay, so you people just all stand there for a moment. I'll just sneak past here. I'll let them out.
See?
Everyone's calm. Arrive there with 2 people, deer get nervous. It is so totally different, you wouldn't believe. So consequently I do most of the work by myself. Much easier. But once they're in a deer shed here, 2 or 3 people can be pushing them around and it's not a problem. But he just got a bit nervous and so many people here, eh? We'll go out in front and talk, eh, David? The crush that we do all of our velveting in. We bring our animals into there and we can tie them down, restrain them there, give them local, cut the velvet off, open the crush up and they're out the door and gone, and hardly notice that there might be something on top of their head when we do things right, which we have to do. We have to have a certain standard for velveting. We're not allowed for those animals to feel pain. If that happens, then we're in big trouble. We won't get our drugs anymore. So I have to sort of test every year to show that I can velvet 3 deer with a vet watching, and that animal should feel no pain. And I have to learn all the nerve sites and different things. Is this one of the things? We have 800 stags that we're cutting the velvet off, so it's quite a big portion of the time that Jacqui and I are working in here doing that through the springtime when that velvet's growing. From about mid-October, we will velvet every day for a month. That's all we do basically. Sometimes only mornings, but other times can be all day if we have a...
Still worth good money though, is it?
It's reasonable money, yeah. It's the best out of anything we farm.
What do they pay, gram, kg?
$100 a kilo, roughly.
There you go.
The
So how much did you say you get off that one deer?
About 5 to 6 kilos.
Yeah. So $100 a kilo, there you go, guys. So it's worth it.
We spent a lot of money on buying good breeding stags over the years, and that's helped us to have a genetically good deer herd that is producing good young stags coming on all the time. And so that's been a help. You don't mind me running through your
Go
list
for
here.
it, yeah, do.
Keep us going a bit more online, eh? Otherwise I tend to detour. Yeah, the question was, how does the farmer aim to achieve his breeding program? Like I just touched on there, velveting is a big part of our income earner, so we buy good breeding stags, good velvet, and quiet, number 1, quiet, and that we use for breeding towards our replacements for velveting. But we also did some AI. We do AI through the crush here as well. A little bit more difficult with the deer, a bit like people with heifers. We have to synchronize them, and then we have a lady vet come in, because ladies tend to have nice small hands, and they will do it through the door at the rear, each animal, and we would end up with around that's mid 75% as a rule held to the AI.
Is it same procedure as with cows, is it?
Yeah,
Basically exactly the same?
Yeah,
Yeah.
give them the
Cool.
cedar, give them the chest.
But
injection.
same with the...
Yeah, exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Exactly
Okay.
the same, yeah.
Cool. There you go, guys.
Yep. But we also did a little bit of AI to some eastern hinds. They tend to be a bigger deer, and we're trying to produce a bigger hind, which is in the female, which will then produce a bigger fawn to be killed at the works heavier and earlier. Most of our animals are being killed around about 10 months to 1 year of age on the meat market.
What's the best time period for that to match in with for killing?
The highest schedule tends to be through end of September through September and October. By then they're only 10 months of age. So that's your highest schedule. From then, the schedule is coming down as fast as we're putting weight on. Really, your money doesn't change much. And then it'll get to the stage where you're losing money. So we work like crazy to make sure we've got as many animals as we can kill through October. And that's why we also use Wapiti cross stags. Now the big stag, your elk, maybe 60–70% elk, and they produce a very big fawn which grows like crazy in the springtime. And we will have maybe 70–80% of the animals killed by the time they're 1 year of age. But we have to feed them like crazy as well. We have to really do things right for that to happen.
Now, why we get the best money in October is because we mainly export our venison to Germany. They like it in October because that's their hunting season, and they like to eat venison in their hunting season. So that's why October is the best money, because that's when we can sell the most to our best market. After November, they have to start flying it to Germany, and that's why the price goes down before that it gets shipped over. So yeah, we're really aiming on selling as much venison in October as possible, because that's when our best money is.
The next thing on here, how do you know when a hind is on heat? Well, like I say, for doing the AI, it's all synchronised anyways. It's all worked out on hours since you took the cedars out and that. But if we have stags out with hinds in the paddock and the hinds are busy riding each other, we would get very suspect of that stag, because they show heat just like a heifer would or cow would. One riding another one, and they're showing that they're on heat. You see that in the paddock and you start thinking, Jesus, that stag doing something, maybe I should put a different stag in. Because really the stag should catch them pretty quickly. How does a stag's behaviour change during the roar? Well, they basically get grumpy towards each other. You saw then they're quite happy to stand with their mates during the roar. They don't want to know about their mates. He's got to be at least 3 or 4 metres away. So we will stock them out at about 5 stags per hectare in about the 20th of January. From then on, they start to fight. If I bring them into the shed, there'll just be one massive action, everyone fighting everybody. Basically not me, as a rule, but each other. They get very into each other. So we stock them on the 20th of February on the hillsides, leave them alone, we won't touch them until July.
How many in the paddock? You set stock?
Well, 5 to the hectare. A lot of our paddocks are about 10 hectares, so 50 to a paddock maybe.
Yeah, so give them plenty of space basically.
You have to give them space, and in the roar you'll look up on the hillside and you'll see one stag here, one there, and that's their patch, and they will stay in that patch. If they go somewhere there, they're going to have a big fight on their hands.
Now, do you guys understand what we mean by the roar?
Yeah.
The stags start making noises. Yeah. Okay, cool. It's mating time.
Yeah. Okay, that next one was what things are important when choosing a stag for mating. Number one has to be temperament. It's no good having the best animal under the sun if you can't do anything with it, or if he turns around and wants to fight you every time. And I've had animals I've bought from a stud, and I ran them into the shed, and you get good at judging an animal, and all of a sudden you think, geez, this animal's going to have a go at me, so you nip out of the road. And I've actually told the guy in the stud, and he came back, he opened the door a little bit, and he looked, I see what you mean, send it to the works, I'll replace it for you. Temperament has to be number one. We put up a little bit of grumpiness with these big Wapiti cross stags, because all of their young ones are getting killed before they're 1 year of age. Nothing gets kept for replacements or stays on after about 2 max. But for reds, temperament's number one. Although you can go to the other extreme, we've actually had them too quiet. Through the summer, you'd push a stag everywhere through the shed. When it got to the roar, he had no fear of humans in the roar, and he would chase us on the motorway. I mean, he was dead serious. I'd be flat out across this paddock with a stag hard behind me, dogs hanging on like crazy, and I've watched the stag, and he got the nickname of Chaser for that very good reason. And he would chase you out of the paddock. He would not let you go in, and if he heard you coming, he'd meet you at the gate. If you wanted to get through there, you had to rush down one end. While he's down there, you belt back, open the gate, and by the time you got there, you had to go like crazy to lose him again. And
Don't fall off your bike.
His problem was he was too quiet. Yeah, you don't fall off the bike, whatever you do. I had to get rid of him in the end, just because he was actually dangerous in the raw, and you can't do anything about that. But if an animal has got a little bit of fear of humans, which most of our deer have, they'll fight each other, but they won't fight you. Most of the time. Yeah, there's always exceptions, though. There just has to be. But, you know, on that choosing a stag, we have to have a certain amount of size, because it's still important to us to have a meat product at the end. Even though like a stag like that that's just kept for velveting, he's still going to go to the works when he's 10, 11, 12, 13 years of age. So meat is a big part of it. I would really answer the artificial insemination. We put all the seeders in that half race. We do a lot of work in there, tagging, tick tags, all different things, and it saves you getting kicked and knocked around at TV tests and that. What is the NATE scheme? It's basically tracing all animals on farm and their movements from them. So if we had say a TB outbreak here, NATE should be able to look on their database and say, oh, you know, you brought in animals from here, or you moved animals elsewhere. We have to check those animals for TB. It's really just trying to keep a handle on where animals are, where they travel to. So if there is an issue, like obviously everyone would know about foot and mouth, if they'd ever come to New Zealand, we're in massive trouble. But at least they would hopefully jump on it very quickly, because I know where all the animals went to. How does a NATE scheme help the farmer? It's actually given us more traceability in the farm. I said we've got 3,500 deer, trying to keep track of what animals went to what stags, and then maybe we will scan them all to see if they're pregnant, and if there's a lot of them not pregnant, we want to know what stags did they go to, what was their feeding system, why is this an issue. So the NATE tags have actually helped us to identify animals and keep records. Actually been quite a help to us. We didn't
the electronic tags, which is part of NATE.
Tags,
Yeah, they don't know anything about NATE at all. They don't even know what the tag is.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, so these electronic tags is what we're using now. Because if you try to write down all of these numbers, there's always mistakes happening.
All farmers, guys, not just deer farmers, dairy, sheep as well, aren't they?
No, not sheep.
Not sheep yet, but dairy and deer, is it? That's it.
Dairy
You're doing it, eh?
Yeah. It's a big help for all of us. Jacqui's most likely fine. It's just a little round tag. That,
So it's got a chip in there, and we've got something that reads that chip. So every animal has a unique number. So
Why is it kept in the freezer?
that's
It's storage.
because we have such a problem with birds in here. So yeah. Good point.
Yeah. Good point, definitely.
Yeah, no, it's just a storage. It's a broken down freezer. Yeah.
So every animal, when it's brought into the shed and its first time as a young animal, will get a electronic tag in its ear. So from then on, and it's put into the database from then on, if we can just zap that animal, it should tell us all its history, as long as everything gets put in right. You know, you young people that are used to computers might be all right, but we had a few problems to start with getting ourselves trained up. On the feeding levels, we use rotationally grazing. It's very much like dairy stock. If you rotationally graze, you can grow more grass. If animals can chew it down, go out, let it grow up, you're going to grow more grass. And deer, it's very important to have clean feed. Not like a dairy pasture, which is long. We want short, sort of so long, nice dense swath, but it's got to be clean. The moment it gets dirty, you don't want to know about it. They'll just lose weight rather than eat that dirty grass. And it's something that we have to be very, very careful about. If I move them into a fresh paddock today, I'm talking about our young fawns, 8 months old, 6 months old. If it rains tonight, the paddock is dirty the next day, I will move them into a fresh paddock.
So what makes it dirty though? Can you explain to these guys?
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah, when they, say in a rainstorm, and like most animals will walk, deer will walk more, and they do it faster too. And so in that walking, they'll always pick up mud, put it on the grass. Your grass gets dirty. Once it gets dirty, then they will tend to walk more because the grass.
Does it leave some space?
We do have to use some supplementary feeds. We don't grow enough grass at the right time for the year because we've got about 1,300 hinds having their fawns. They're trying to, those fawns are drinking the milk because they have their fawns in November, December. Those hinds are trying to feed their fawns on good quality milk, but our pasture tends to lose its quality through late January, February, March, right when those hinds are busy feeding a fawn. The hind might be 120 kilos. She's trying to raise a what-cross fawn, say, that potentially could be 60, 65 kilos. So she's producing a very big fawn considering her own body weight. She has to eat lots of quality feed to produce enough milk for that fawn, because a hind will produce as much milk as that fawn can drink. So you get a big fawn, he's going to drink lots of milk. That hind is going to try to produce that milk. If she can't get it through the grass, she will do it off her back. So she will have a little bit of fat in the system. Deer don't have very much fat. That's why they're very lean meat. So they have not got much of a reserve. So we have to really put quality feed in while these fawns are suckling on mum. Very, very important. It's one of the biggest problems we have in deer is that we're trying to give them quality feed at a time of the year when we haven't got quality feed. So we use palm kernel to help us out. That is a good quality feed for deer. They can't eat too much, they won't kill themselves. That works very well. I feed out lots of grass silage. We make over 200 hectares of grass silage every year. I feed out every day from the end of January through to about now. But the bulk time is February, March, April into May. But we also do a little bit of whole grain maize, because the maize seems to be a very good feed for young fawns to change the bugs in the rumen, in the gut. And normally at the end of February we want to take that fawn away from mum, but the fawn's stomach is not ready to digest grass properly. So we found now in some of the trial work that we've done here that if we feed that fawn on whole grain maize for at least 2 weeks before he's weaned, it changes the gut rumen over so he can actually absorb grass better. Plus when you wean him, you take him away from mum, all of a sudden no milk, he's been eating a bit of grass but not enough to totally survive on. He's been getting some grain as well. You're helping to balance his changeover from living on milk to just pasture. So the maize becomes quite important for that period. But in the droughts, we've actually had to keep the maize going for another 2 months, longer than we normally would, simply because there wasn't anything else there to eat. And young fawns are not good with palm kernel. They don't eat enough of it to have much effect. Good quality silage and the maize is the best thing that you can give young deer. Feed. We have used crops a little bit in the summer, some of the chicory, pasture crops, even lucerne will work very good, but when we tried it, it helped us to feed our hinds well through one period, but then made a gap on another one when we're trying to get that paddock back in the grass and we suddenly can't put deer into it. So we filled one hole and made another one. So I try to do it on straight pasture. That's my preference to do it, and wherever possible, that's what we're working on. On the animal health side of it there, what are the main animal health issues facing deer farmers? One of the big ones that is out there, and we had it quite a number of years ago, and that's leptospirosis. You know, all the dairy farmers vaccinate for it. One day I think that was what will happen for the deer, but I had a staff member get lepto. I did some testing, blood testing, to find out where it came from. It actually came from the sheep, but I'm an inquisitive bugger, so I thought I'd blood test some deer as well to see what it was like, and lo and behold, I got in my deer as well. So, so now I vaccinate all animals for lepto. The young ones are done twice around weaning time, because I have had fawns dying of lepto. Normally it's an abortion issue for the females. They get contact with lepto, they'll abort their fawn. But we actually found we were losing fawns, young fawns, because of lepto. So now everything gets a lepto, including all the sheep. When we wean our fawns, they get a 5-in-1 vaccine, colby kidney, black leg, edema, whatever the others are. And they get a 5-in-1, a lepto, but another one for young deer is yersiniosis. It's a stress-related scours, and because deer are a little bit more highly strung than a lot of other animals, and they've got no fat reserves, especially a young animal that's only just growing, is only half his full weight. He's got very little fat reserves, and you get a bit of cold weather. Maybe you didn't move the deer the day you should have done, and it came to the next day and it got turned a bit cold. All of a sudden you've got an outbreak of Yersinia in amongst your deer, and they die very, very quickly. There's two things about deer: they're either really healthy or they're dead. There's not much in between. And as far as farming them goes, you have to really be on the ball seeing a problem and trying to fix it. Otherwise you've got animals dying, and it is contagious as well, so it spreads through them and will spread to other parts of the farm. I don't know whether it's birds carrying it or what, but we've had that. So we vaccinate for Yersinia. It doesn't stop it totally, but it puts a big handbrake on slowing down its spread if you do get the odd animal. Lungworm is another potential problem for young deer again, and we use drenches to cover lungworm, and roundworms are there. They are an issue, but not as severe as if you get an outbreak of lungworm in that late autumn. You can lose deer very, very quickly, so we have to be quite careful on the type of drenches that we use. Actually, one of the problems with the deer is because we're such a small industry, not a lot of animals animal remedies are registered for deer. So sometimes we have to use things that we're not really supposed to. We don't know we're withholding, so we have to extend the withholding period before they can go to the work. So we have to be quite cautious about that. How's the handling of deer different to cattle? The big thing about deer, they react very quickly, and they react to little things that other animals would not even worry about. If you hang an electric fence reel on a gateway and then try to move deer through, they'll be trotting along nicely until they think, hey, what's that? I'm going that way. And that's it, it's all gone. They are very flighty. Yeah, they're flighty, but they react very quickly. And this is where I say where things are either going really good or totally to custard. There's not much room in the middle. We're bringing deer up and down the hill here all the time. They don't actually like going downhill. Much prefer to run up. Up is easy for them. They've got such big, powerful back legs, which is why they make such good steak in their back legs. But very good for going uphill, but not coming downhill. And so we have to use the dogs on them. And if you don't do things right, your dog makes a mistake, suddenly you've got deer running back up the hill so fast that you're flat out on that motorbike of mine. I'm struggling to get past them. If they really get the power up, I can't go fast enough to get past them. But if And if that happens, they will just keep barreling in a straight line, and if you try to pass them, they will just keep barreling until they run into whatever is at the end of that direct line that they're going on, be it a fence, a gate, and as a rule they break their neck. So that's the end of it for that animal. So yeah, so if you have an animal break like that, I'll just pull off, let him run to the other end at his time, which doesn't take very long anyway. And once he gets to that end and realises there's nowhere to go, then you go up around him and you chase it back again. As long as he's pointed back to his other deer, he should be right. But that's really the biggest things. It's the reaction time. It is very, very quick.
I've seen YouTube videos on them like doing boxing and stuff with people. Does that happen in your yards or nah? They do stand up and start playing around.
That's how they sort out their dominance. A lot of the time, it's not actually physically fighting head to head. They stand up. And I've seen deer standing up in the paddock fighting each other for, it had to be 7 or 8 minutes. I sat there and watched. I wondered how long this was going to go for. The two of them stood up. They're trying to bat each other on the nose, on the head, and the stag with a bit of velvet up. You see him, he's trying to pull his head back, but he's still trying to hit that other guy too. and they'll actually go around like this on their back feet.